We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Mike, we thought that the stripper monkey was going to be a headline for more than 24 hours. Here comes the show. Here comes the absolute show. Can we start? So what we're going to cover, Aaron Rodgers, Henry Ruggs, Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Thomas, all those guys. Start with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Can you describe the story in detail for those who haven't followed? And I just need you to hear my reaction.
Okay, so it'd be difficult not to follow at this point because anywhere you look, that is all everyone wants to talk about, and for good reason. He is going to miss the next 10 days. He is gone. And why is that? Because he wasn't actually vaccinated. Even though before the season he was asked by a reporter, "Are you vaccinated?" His response to that question, "Yeah, I've been immunized." There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated, and it's a personal decision, not going to judge those guys. By immunized, he meant he went to a doctor in Canada who performed a homeopathic treatment on him that the NFL then went on to say doesn't fit our guidelines for a COVID vaccine. You are unvaccinated by our rules. And so he has been in the vaccinated protocols for the Green Bay Packers all season long, even though I guess he hasn't been wearing masks in interviews, which they oftentimes make guys wear masks in interviews who are vaccinated or put them on Zoom interviews. So that's been a whole thing. And so he is gone for 10 days now.
At least.
At least 10 days. Obviously, if symptoms last longer than that, he's gone for however long that is. But he cannot be with the team even for 10 days. So that makes him out of the Kansas City Chiefs game this weekend and doesn't get back till Saturday prior to next weekend's game against the Seattle Seahawks.
That is absolutely absurd. Homeopathic ways. So homeopathy is the use of natural substances in minute doses and the overall belief in that the human body can cure things. And you were telling me before the show that Aaron Rodgers grew up on a llama farm, and this has been him the whole way. Because I'm also reading the same headlines about his fiancée, Shailene Woodley, who's eating clay and developing her own medicine. I thought so you saw the report too, that Aaron Rodgers hit up the NFL and said, "Hey, I got some fire going on here. Up in Canada, Shailene Woodley's cooking up some clay in the backseat. We're going to make some plays here, and I'm going to be kind of vaccinated my own way." And the NFL's like, "No, put the Woodley shot down, and it's not going to fly for us." I just can't believe this all happened to someone with millions of dollars and access to the internet. I don't get it.
Yeah, everyone's bringing up Shailene Woodley, his fiancée.
Star in Fault in Our Stars.
Yes, so famous actress. Saying that like she, is a fan of these holistic remedies and she makes her own medicine, all this.
She does.
Whatever you want to believe stuff. And saying like that she rubbed off on Aaron Rodgers. When in reality, this has kind of been Rodgers. If you followed his career, he's kind of been this guy. Like that was Danica Patrick. She was a big like power crystals person. So
was my dad.
Olivia Munn. Like he's got a type. And it's because that is who he also is to a degree, obviously. And that's come to a head here with his immunized.
That's just incredible. The immunized component of that is incredible. I've seen some really good tweets on that. Someone mentioned that it's a bad year to be a Jeopardy host. That's phenomenal. Someone responded to Kevin Clark of The Ringer said, "The Green Bay Packers have a week to tell Jordan Love about Daniel Sorensen," and I think Noah Princati responded saying Aaron Rodgers is going to do his own research. Twitter has been a field day, in my opinion. This has been phenomenal. I love the juxtaposition, too, between the TB12 method and the Aaron Rodgers method of crystals and clay, which is incredible. I mean, this is great. I have much more to
get to be an elite quarterback without believing in some out there shit, apparently, is what I'm gathering from all this.
The line has moved significantly. We'll get into that with our game picks here. You have to hope, obviously, that Aaron Rodgers, the clay works, and he gets back in 10 days and can play after these next games.
The sad thing here is, as a football fan, we did not get Mahomes, Rodgers round 1, first time they played. Mahomes was injured. We're not going to get it again. We're not going to get to see two of the all-time quarterbacks probably ever now at this point. That's probably it, unless obviously Aaron Rodgers goes to the Broncos this coming offseason.
Shailene Woodley cost us. No, I'm just kidding. But that's this was an incredible day on Twitter. And the next thing, not as incredible, obviously, but something to touch on. We mentioned it on the Wednesday episode, but Henry Ruggs officially released from the Las Vegas Raiders after, I think, being charged with DUI resulting in death. More details came that he had more than double the legal limit in BAC or blood alcohol content, and then also was going 156 miles an hour. A 23-year-old woman and her dog both died in that car accident. What a tragic situation or circumstance, result, whatever you're going to say, for Henry Ruggs and obviously her and her family.
Yeah, so I think you said on the last episode, the Raiders must have found out something that we didn't know. I don't think you need to find out more details than those two things to know that he should never play down in the NFL again.
100%.
And put it on a quote graphic. Fuck Henry Ruggs. There's no excuse for anything that he did there. Going the BAC 1, driving over 150 miles an hour 2. I think the prosecutor said he's never seen a car accident with someone going over 150 miles an hour, which is utterly absurd. That is not only putting yourself at risk, which obviously he was injured. That is a absolutely unforgivable.
I have a little bit of a take here, and I don't know how well this is going to be received, but there is an overwhelming amount of just very appropriate comments when this first happened. Get an Uber. There's no excuse. Get an Uber, and that is 100% valid. However, there needs to be more support efforts and education efforts on what can happen if you black out. If you go over 0.16, you black out. And when you black out, you make decisions that you can't even call an Uber. Like you will make decisions that are unfathomable decisions that you've seen here. More people, not just players, not just anyone, more people need to understand that it doesn't matter if the drunkest you've ever been, you'd still call an Uber. There are times where if you black out, you will make decisions, unfathomable ones. I think more people need to realize that that's the situation we're in here. Henry Ruggs was not 0.09 or 0.10 and made the decision to drive. This was a complete blacked out state, looking at the BAC, where he's not even making decisions based off anything. And I think that more players, more people need to understand, like, bro, if you get to that level, you can do anything. And that's the concern about blacking out, especially in public spaces with your car and those things.
I was very lucky growing up my mother was a prosecuting attorney. And so she wouldn't have been, I would have killed someone if I drove drunk. She would have killed me if I would have ever driven drunk. So I have had the fear of God in me to where even if I do black out and have, on occasion, I would never even put my keys in the car. And that's kind of where it has to start.
All I was trying to get across was that the Uber push and there's no reason to do this push isn't enough. There needs to be more education on, if you black out, there are things you'll do you would never do. And that is obviously the situation that I think Henry Ruggs was in. And that is a big concern that more people need to be made aware of. Moving off of this, obviously, this huge tragedy. Odell Beckham Jr. excused from practice, even though he planned to go. Odell Beckham Jr. excused from practice, but he was planning to go. He was still meeting with, I think, Andrew Berry or whoever it was. He's completely cut off talks with the head coach, Kevin Stefanski. Baker Mayfield's asking if he's looking for an apology. You have been nail on the head with this whole thing forever. And I've always doubted it a little bit here and there. There's no way Baker Mayfield plays worth what Odell on the field. It's turned into this dramatic outlash, and now OBJ, past the trade deadline, might not suit up for the Browns ever again. Is he cut? Is he benched for the rest of the season? What do you think the fallout is? And I guess your reaction to the absurdity that is this drama between Odell and Baker.
Yeah, he's gone. He's getting cut. I think there's no doubt in my mind at this point. The tweet from Michael Silver read this. He said, Browns coach Kevin Stefanski told his players that Odell Beckham Jr. is essentially not on the team right now, and the wide receiver has been told to stay home. That is beyond reconciliation, in my opinion. That a player like Odell Beckham telling him to stay home a week from now or whatever, 3 days from now, whatever it is, he's not just going to be like, you know what, we're cool. Like, there's no mending that bridge. That bridge is burned. He's gone. And like I said, for all intents and purposes, it is just now, what do they end up doing with him? The trade deadline's obviously passed. You can still make trades after the trade deadline, but guys have to clear waivers. I'm not sure they could get anything back for him, though, is the problem, is $8 million against the cap. He's going to count for whichever team he goes to. And as we outlined on yesterday's episode, this is not his first time. This has been a string of recurring events for Odell Beckham Jr. And as much as there have been missed opportunities from his quarterback, he is also partially at fault for some of these things. And he is about to turn 29 years old. He is not in the sort of prime of his career after multiple injuries. He may not be the exact same guy. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who's going to take on $8 million for one half of a season of a guy who may not assimilate into your locker room right now. So I think he ends up getting cut, ends up having to go somewhere on not a very expensive deal, could then at least pick where he wants to go, pick somewhere where he thinks he'll be happy. So we'll see from there. But that, I think, is the ultimate conclusion to this. And like I said, the writing had been on the wall ever since last year when it just did not work between those two.
That is just absurd to me. I don't understand how OBJ and Baker Mayfield couldn't work. I don't understand how adult men get into these feuds. I don't understand. I don't understand how that happened. I also say that is there not a situation where the Cleveland Browns could have got the most they could and agreed with the team that they were trading to, similar to the Von Miller situation, to trade and pay most of his salary just to get him off the team before the trade deadline? Because now if you just outright cut him, getting nothing in return for OBJ, I'm sure Von Miller got a second and a third round pick. Would you not argue that OBJ could return something similar, if not something more, especially if the Browns agreed to pay most of that guaranteed money?
I think the problem was the timing. And again, it's like I don't think it's a secret that Odell wasn't happy throughout the league. That was the thing. It's like this should have happened if you were going to move him for a good haul last offseason. And I was the one clamoring for it. I'm like, I was very surprised when they rolled into this season with him after that ACL injury and all of the season and a half prior that just wasn't working out. So, yeah, the timing of it, they kind of just are between a rock and a hard place, and I don't, like I said, I don't think they could have gotten really anything in return for it, and weren't really, they're not in that position to be eating cap themselves.
Man, do you have a favorite landing spot for Odell Beckham Jr. where you think he could thrive? Obviously, Odell only knows that question, so I don't know where he'd go.
Does he believe in homeopathic remedies?
There's a chance. I mean, there's a chance. From some of the stories we've heard about OBJ, he does believe in a lot of homegrown stuff, and I don't know whether or not that's, over-the-top ointments and things like that, or something similar. I think that's maybe where Odell Beckham Jr. trends. I guess if we do see OBJ, Aaron Rodgers, Miles Teller, Woodley getting together, there's probably some positives in the right direction for that marriage.
Swap essential oils.
I like that. All right, last one here for the Catch and Early Buzz. This has been phenomenal. Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints wide receiver, who originally, there was that saga in the beginning where he had an ankle injury. They were trying to contact him over the offseason to get surgery earlier so he wouldn't miss parts of the season. He says, I'm fine. Shows up, nope, I can't, I'm not fine. And then he was on the injured reserve. Now was expected to come back at some point this season. A new ankle injury arises. So now he's going to miss the entire season. Drama on drama, man. I don't understand. This is another that's such a bad situation for New Orleans.
Yeah, he said, unfortunately, the rehab didn't go as planned earlier this offseason with a parent. I had to have a procedure to repair the injury. Since then, the team and I have worked diligently day and night to rehab and get me back in the field. Unfortunately, there's been another small setback, which we will have to address. To my displeasure, I will not be able to make it back in time for the season, but we'll do everything in my power to get back to the player I have always been. So, yikes. Another, wide receiver versus team sort of saga. And I said it at the beginning of the year when he was put on the PUP. I was like, this is probably the most impactful. This is going to neuter their passing game because for the past 2 years, he was their passing, their sort of downfield passing game outside of their screen shit, outside of all that stuff they do underneath in the quick passing game. He was, if they had a third down and had to convert, was going to Michael Thomas. And you knew that, and it was money every time. Now, without that guy, they have been about as boring a passing game as exists in the NFL without with a legit offensive coordinator calling the plays. It's just been not much in the way of actual explosive plays there, and I don't foresee that changing, obviously, with Jameis Winston out and now Taysom Hill. I don't believe this week, or is he going to play this week going forward? So we shall see. I think that's kind of the nail in the coffin of the Saints really competing or, having this lightning in a bottle chance of making any sort of noise in the NFC.
Man, that is tough for the New Orleans Saints. And what was your take? I guess we can get to this in the game pick situation. Let's wait. Let's hold off. I want one more catch and early buzz. College football power rankings. College football playoff power rankings came out on Tuesday night, and everyone is upset. As they could have done anything. They could have put it exactly as everyone wanted, and still someone would have been upset. But still, number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Bama. That was the first stunner. Number 3, Michigan State. Number 4, Oregon. Another stunner. 5, Ohio State. 6, Cincinnati. 7, Michigan. Over an undefeated number 8, Oklahoma. Then you have an undefeated Wake Forest at 9, and then Notre Dame at 10. I don't think the College Football Playoff Committee cares a ton about 11 through 25. San Diego State did slip in at 24 despite the loss to Fresno State, but still, that is your top 10. Your thought, who's the most overrated team on that list, and who's the most underrated team on that list?
Okay, I got a lot of takes here. And
I'm so excited for these takes.
I am the one usually banging the drum when you get the first few college football playoff rankings come out, being like, it doesn't matter. Like they don't matter, because the college football playoff seemingly on a whim will flip teams, will change rankings week in and week out. Yeah. There's no transparency in the process.
But to add to that,
they come out of a fucking room and they tell you what they think, and they have and then they say dumb shit like, we respect Cincinnati and have great pride in their work or something, whatever they said. That was just awful. But they got me. They got me fucking on tilt last night, because Cincinnati at 6 right now, or just kind of the way the top 6 shakes out, makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense to me. If you are sort of giving deference to strength of wins, like who you've beaten, why is Alabama at 2? Alabama, the best team they've beaten is Ole Miss, a 2-loss Ole Miss team. They really haven't beaten like a good team. If you're giving deference to kind of how strong they are as a roster, why is Michigan State at 3? Like, Michigan State, roster-wise, NFL talent-wise, easily the worst of those top 6. I don't even think it's close.
And they've only beat one really talented
team. So if it's like, there's no consistent rhyme or reason through these. And I do think it should be a reward. Like, I do think it should lean more towards body of work, how you've actually performed on football fields, not this mythical, how much talent do you have on your roster? That obviously Alabama has a lot of talent, but then if it was just that, the games wouldn't matter. I think the game should still weigh heavily in. And Cincinnati has gone through their schedule as dominantly as anyone in college football. They have won one-score game, and it was Navy getting in the back door late in that game. That really wasn't close in the fourth quarter. Navy obviously scores down the stretch. Like, Cincinnati's been as dominant as anyone in the country in terms of, outside of Georgia, week in, week out. A double-digit win against a top 10 team in this ranking in Notre Dame. To have them at 6 right now is just patently absurd, and basically just saying, hey, group of 5, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted out shortly after group of 5, it just means less. Obviously, it just means less. Number 6 Cincinnati undefeated is an absurd situation. I'll also say this, like, you mentioned that they'll just flip teams willy-nilly. Last year, Cincinnati opened the college football playoff rankings at 7 and won out and finished at 8. They went down. Exactly. They went down behind a 3-loss Florida team.
Yeah.
A 3-loss Florida team jumped Cincinnati late in the college football playoff despite Cincinnati winning out. The games don't matter for the group of 5. All that matters is stars and the SEC.
Well, but then it doesn't, because they also, remember, they had Iowa State ahead of them. When Iowa State is not a star-studded team, Iowa State was not like a talent team. It was just I really, truly hate this process.
Here's the take I had.
I hate it.
What is so overvalued in the college football playoff process is the average strength of the Power 5 conferences. The Power 5 conferences have top-heavy monsters. Yeah. Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever. Mm-hmm. But just because Alabama plays in the SEC doesn't mean they play a ton of talented football teams. Vandy stinks. Missouri stinks. South Carolina. Do they have more stars than a lot of the group of 5 teams? Sure, but they are not good football teams. And Cincinnati would be favored against a lot of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, they put Mississippi State at 17. Mississippi State lost to Memphis. Alabama's getting credit for beating Mississippi State when that's a team that lost to a group of 5 team. I don't see how you can justify them at 5-3, 17th overall, It's like, oh, they played good teams. So it's like, yeah, well, they also lost to a team that's not good. And once that happens, you really don't have credibility then, or like you don't have a claim to being the 17th team in the country at 5-3. I'm just sorry, you don't.
Oregon too, losing to Stanford. They're plus 5,000 to win the national championship, but are number 4 in the country, which is, it doesn't make sense to me. It does not make a ton of sense to me, but
I think that's just the biggest thing, is there's no rhyme or reason. If there was a consistency to how these rankings were put out, we could have, I wouldn't be on tilt right now. And I get it. It's going to shake out. Teams are going to lose. If Cincinnati keeps winning, I like their chances of sneaking into it. But if they go undefeated and don't make it,
and Ohio State goes undefeated,
and Ohio State loses, and Oregon loses, and someone like and someone jumps them, like say Oklahoma, a 1-loss Oklahoma, or a 2-loss Ohio State still is ahead of Cincinnati, I will be really on tilt, because that will just be an absolute absurdity. So we shall see. We'll have a lot more to get mad about.
Cincinnati could win out, and Oklahoma could win out. And Oklahoma right now is 2 spots behind Cincy, and I think they'd give it to Oklahoma.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
And that's a disaster, in my opinion. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I do not understand the college football playoff. I thought I had one more point there, but I think I'm gonna abstain. I'm going to abstain from the disaster that is the college football playoff rankings and just enjoy the games. Let's get to our NFL game picks. Before we do, we're going to shout out the PFF Tailgate promo code. Use promo code Tailgate on PFF.com for 25% off any PFF subscription. If you want access to all the premium article content, betting picks, player props, fantasy football, all that stuff. Pretty much, if you like football and your interest in football continues to increase as the seasons progress, you need a PFF subscription, because we're going to the moon over here. Tailgate is too. Use promo code Tailgate, 25% off. Game picks. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the New York Mike White football Jets are 10.5-point dogs to Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts on the road. I absolutely refuse to not bet on future Hall of Fame jersey Mike White. Did you see that his jersey is going to the Hall of Fame?
Why?
I didn't read. I got lost in the fact that it's going there. But I think it's because he had over 400 passing yards in his first NFL start.
Oh, yeah, the most ever first start. Yep, okay, that was it.
If anything, and he had a 4.9 average depth of target. The Bengals, you know whose jersey should go in the Hall of Fame is probably the Bengals, like all their defenders.
Logan Wilson. Yeah, we'll blow through these quickly because we've spent a lot of time on the previews.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there was a lot of buzz.
But I will say, call me crazy, the way White played, from judging on that one game sample size of how he plays the quarterback position, I kind of like the way it matches up against the Colts defense. I think we've talked about it a bunch. The Colts are kind of a spot dropping, either cover 2, cover 3 sort of defense primarily. And I think that plays to what White likes to do, and that was obviously attack underneath, and the Colts will give you stuff underneath. So obviously the Colts will have seen that. We'll have a game plan for him, but I'll take the Jets 10.5.
Let's go. You get the 10.5. You get the hook there over 10. Yeah. I also like a little sprinkle, just a dash, on the money line at plus 400. Give it to me. I want Mike White on Thursday night. Put that on the quote graphic social. Vikings-Ravens, first game of the 1 o'clock slate here. Ravens favored by 6 at home. This line kind of scares me because there's a lot of me that wants to bet a better Baltimore Ravens team. The Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion, are one of the best teams in the AFC. But at 6, I know it's on the road. How good the Minnesota Vikings have played. I know they just lost to Cooper Rush. There's not a lot of me that loves Ravens -6. This is one of those games where I almost feel like more confident in not betting it than betting it. Before I pick, who do you have?
Oh, man, I really do hate this one. But I think I would go lean Minnesota in this one.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the way that Baltimore schemes their defense. Like, man blitzes, Kirk Cousins, if he's good at anything, it's against blitz. Like, he can diagnose and get the ball out against blitzes, and those wide receivers, Justin Jefferson and Thielen, can beat man coverage. So I just think matchup-wise, I like that for them. Now, I'm not saying that I like how the Vikings defense matches up against Baltimore, but 6 is big for teams that could be evenly matched in this one. And again, Vikings are they're Jekyll and Hyde. I hate that I'm picking them, but yeah, I'm picking them.
This is the biggest underdog spread the Vikings have seen this season. They were 4.5-point dogs against, or no, they were 3.5-point dogs against the Arizona Cardinals. They covered that. They were 2-point dogs against Seattle. They covered that. I do feel that the 6 is too big. I'm leaning Minnesota as well. Kirk Cousins has graded really well. What I see is that if they think the Vikings beat Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys, this number is like 4.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like 3.5.
I don't think you're wrong there.
But because the Cooper Rush, this is the Cooper Rush
effect.
You think he can't affect the league? He did. And I think I'm going to ride with the Vikings as well. Kirk Cousins, one of the highest grade quarterbacks in the NFL. I know people don't like Kirk Cousins. There's definitely a lot of people who hate Kirk Cousins, including Eric Eager here. But I'm a huge fan of the 6 line. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings. Patriots at Panthers. Patriots on the road favored over the Panthers -4. Now, PJ Walker, former XFL legend or AAF legend?
That's a good. I think it was XFL.
XFL legend.
I have no clue now.
Former
I did not watch this. We have to watch. Eric Eager's the expert on those too.
Well, so is yeah. But anyway, former XFL legend PJ Walker is preparing this week as if he's going to start. I think Sam Darnold is potentially out in concussion protocol. Also, I think Christian McCaffrey is practicing though. So Sam Darnold questionable with an injury or concussion. Christian McCaffrey on the injury reserve designated to return. Panthers +4 with PJ Walker. I lean Patriots initially, but I don't know.
I'm Patriots. Yeah, I'm going Patriots. I think they've turned kind of a corner on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's a tough defense. And when their offensive line is healthy, they can at least block up this Carolina front that sends a lot at you. So, and it's a Carolina front that's kind of undersized. And we talk a lot about how Patriots are zigging with that offensive line. That's a very hulking, very take you off the line of scrimmage sort of offensive line that I think they're going to run the ball really well in this game. So
this number actually, too, I think opened at 4. It's actually down to 3.5 right now. If you bet it right now, I'm not sure where this number will end up as we see more PJ Walker money. But I think at 3.5, I really like the New England Patriots. I'd also add that 73% of the cash bet on this game is on the New England Patriots side. That's where the money is now. Now, is that sharp money? I would doubt it. I don't know. We'll see. Moving to the next game on our list here, the 1 o'clock slate continues. Browns at Bengals. Oh my gosh.
You know what to do.
Quinn,
Browns. We're all going Browns.
Quinn, you weren't on the mic. Can you talk about my pick last week and how it? Were you thinking about me on Sunday when they were potentially going to lose and then ultimately
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like at the very end of the game, yeah, it did pop into my mind, yeah, a little bit. But you know what? If you're gonna pick the Bengals, if you're gonna make a decision, stand by your decision. Don't just tell other people what they want to hear, like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No. I'm picking Browns. I like the Browns in this one. Browns over. Cincinnati Bengals are favored by 2.5. Yes, they're at home, but I don't think this OBJ's not playing. I mean, OBJ's not gonna play this week. I like the Browns.
I was gonna say, you know why I like the Browns in this one. If Odell really is not playing, I like the Browns offense getting back on track against the Bengals defense, and I just don't love the Bengals offensive line blocking up the Browns front. Like Myles Garrett is. I don't care who you are. Myles Garrett's Myles Garrett. And I think this Browns defense getting back to full strength in that secondary is big. Like they did not lose against the Steelers because of their defense. They lost because Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield were playing.
So this game opened up at -3 for the Cincinnati Bengals at home. It's now at -2.5. And honestly, the market is split on this one. 50% of the cash is on Cleveland and 50% is on Cincinnati.
We got to tailgate this one. We got to be there.
We got to be there?
We got to be there.
We'll be there.
I'll be there.
All right. Me, Quinn. And I'll be rooting for the Browns all night long. Let's go. I guess it's during the day, but still, I'm rooting for the Browns. I like it. OBJ's out with Shailene Woodley. We're going to be on here with the Cleveland Browns. All right, Broncos-Cowboys. Next on our list here. Broncos actually 10-point dogs against the Dallas Cowboys on the road here.
Big dogs.
Dallas Cowboys favored by 10. Green Line, PFF's betting dashboard, which you can get with an elite subscription, 25% off, promo code tailgate, favors Teddy B and the Denver Broncos in this one. They like that 10-point line. Where are you siding in this one?
I'm going Cowboys at home. And that's assuming Dak Prescott plays. Obviously, I think we kind of assumed it last week and then it didn't end up happening. But assuming Dak Prescott plays, this front seven without Chubb, without Von Miller, without their linebackers, is a butter. And the offensive line for the Cowboys is a hot knife. It is going to be a pancaking up front. A lot of food references.
I like it. I'm going with the hot knife as well, despite Green Line siding with Teddy B. I think this locker room is also going to be in an interesting position. Von Miller out. You saw Melvin Gordon voice his frustration on Twitter over that trade. I don't think anyone's too thrilled with the Denver Broncos being sellers here. I think you could lean into that seller's mantra. 10 points is a lot. Dak Prescott coming back, ideally healthy. I think if you had an inside scoop that Dak might not play, an inside scoop Dak might not play.
If you got a guy who works in
Cooper Rush's brother, then I would bet the 10 now before it gets down to 7, 6, or 5. But or the plus 10, I mean. But right now, if you're confident Dak Prescott's playing, let's go. Cowboys, I think, are also the only team in the NFL that are undefeated against the spread this season. They got to cover 10 to keep that up. Bills at Jaguars. If you bet Urban Meyer this week, Mike, I'm going to be furious. Absolutely furious.
The Jags are only 2-5 this year against the spread. That's
You like Urban Meyer in the backdoor?
No.
Plus 14.5?
This is the week.
The last backdoor Urban Meyer has covered was in the Columbus
right
bar.
At Urban Meyer Pint House, just saying.
Go ahead. Who do you have here?
I think his wife told him no more backdoor covers. So, I'm going to lead Bills in this one. They just the Jags don't have the dudes. They on offense right now. They don't have the dudes to move the ball on the Bills. You just don't. The Bills are a very complete defense. The way that defensive line has played this year, the way Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde have played, they just have there are not a lot of holes. I like the Bills. And again, Jaguars, number one option, past 2 weeks, Jamal Agnew. That's disaster.
And you said the Bills are 2-5 against the spread. They're 5-2 against the spread.
No, I said the Jags.
No, the Bills are 5-2 against the spread. 7.5-point favorites over Washington, cleared. 18-point favorites over Houston, cleared. 14.5-point favorites over Miami, cleared. Now they're 14.5-point favorites over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this is another bludgeoning.
Clearer?
A clearer. I think it's a clearer. I like Buffalo a lot. I think here's the take. Do you think Buffalo's the best team in the AFC?
Fuck, the AFC's wide open right now.
It's wide open, but I think Buffalo's the only team that's seeing 15-point spreads and covering every week.
They're probably the most complete team in the AFC.
That's such a sit on a fence take. That's the fun to watch of takes. Most complete team. Are they good or are they the best? I want to know.
They're complete.
Who's the best team in the AFC?
Okay.
Gun to your head. Who's the best team in the AFC?
Shit.
I'm saying the Bills. I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC.
I want to say the Browns because I think when actually.
You think the Browns are the best team in the AFC?
When Baker's healthy and if Odell's not there, they're the best team in the AFC. But yeah, probably the Bills outside of them.
The Browns are 2.5-point dogs to the Bengals.
Yeah, I'd say okay.
Yeah, and the Bengals might be the best team in the AFC.
No.
So.
Probably the Bills.
All right.
Probably
I think the Bills are the best team, not just the most complete team. They're the best team in the AFC. And I also think they cover against the Urban Meyer backdoor Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans at Dolphins. This was supposed to be a big game. If Deshaun Watson was ultimately traded, he was not. That saga, according to Adam Schefter, to be continued, ... We will see where that one ends up. Right now, though, Dolphins are only 6.5-point favorites over the Texans. I don't really love the Texans as a single touchdown dog. They are a bad football team. And I know Tyrod Taylor is expected to play in this one, and the Dolphins have been horrendous this year. I think the most disappointing team of any team in the NFL this year have been the Dolphins at 1-7. But until I see the hook here, the 7.5, I think I am signing with Miami. I'm not ready to bet Houston 6.5.
Yeah, I like Miami too. I don't think they can exploit what has been the most exploitable aspect of the Miami Dolphins, which is that offensive line. And the Miami defense looked good last week. Obviously a divisional game. Throw out the records when it's a divisional game, whatever. But I do think that this defense is still very talented. Brian Flores still knows what the hell he's doing on that side of the ball, at least, to where 6.5, Houston's hapless. They just have been hapless ever since week 1.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time, too, that the Houston Texans, since week 1, are under a touchdown dog. They've been a dog in every game they've played this season, but it's first time in a while. The last few spreads, 16.5, 19.5, 11.5, 8 and 18, 8.5. This one, in my opinion, 6.5. I still don't like it. I think I like Miami, I've rarely said I like Miami this year because I think they've been but I like them this week.
If Texans lose this one, you can cash those 4 wins, basically, the 4 win tickets.
Oh, that's right.
There's no way they get 4 more wins this year.
Oh, that's
in the
a good
final 8 games.
Before we get to Falcons-Saints, you know where you could bet a lot on these things? We tell you what to pick. If you want to side with Urban Meyer and the Jaguars, I'll tell you where to do it. NFL fans hungry for a big win this week, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team, including the Jaguars, to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. What game did I say we got next? Falcons-Saints in New Orleans with Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian. I don't know who's starting for the New Orleans Saints. I think Taysom Hill is expected to be out of concussion protocol this week. Yeah. Would it not be absolutely absurd if they don't start Taysom Hill? The amount of positive news that has come out of Sean Payton's camp and the New Orleans Saints organization about Taysom Hill to be an actual heir apparent to Drew Brees, that didn't happen. Jameis Winston, overtakes that. Now it's Trevor Siemian versus Taysom Hill. If you're not going to start a healthy Taysom Hill in this situation, I think all of that has been smoke and then some.
Yeah, I think he's going to start.
So Taysom Hill versus the Atlanta Falcons. Taysom Hill in this situation favored by 6.
They're wanting me to pick the Falcons. I don't love picking the Falcons, as you know. But my God, Taysom Hill 6 in his first game.
The defense is sick, though.
Defense is very good. Don't get twisted on that. I agree. But it's not like the Falcons are wholly incapable of moving the football. Now, they look like that against the Panthers, but just give me the Falcons.
No.
Just give me the Falcons.
I'm not doing it.
Points.
74% of the cash bet on this game so far this week on Atlanta, but I'm going against that. I like Taysom Hill and the 6 because I like this defense. Number 3 ranked defense according to PFF's ELO ratings. I think they're playing phenomenal.
They're a good defense. Matt Ryan, obviously mine. Great at the oldest linebacker in the NFL, still playing at a really high level.
There's some people clamoring for Dennis Allen, former Oakland Raiders coach legend, to get another head coaching offer. Where's your thoughts there?
Shit, I don't know. I still think offensive side of the ball, but and he didn't do quite great in Oakland, shall we say? But. No.
To be fair, it's kind of been a curse there.
Yeah, not a lot of guys have done well in Oakland.
Yeah,
not a lot of graceful exits.
And Las Vegas hasn't treated them any better. Yeah. Las Vegas has not been great either. All right, on to Raiders-Giants. Raiders coming off a bye. Now, they're also coming off a lot of garbage. I mean, they're coming off some things they're going to have to overcome here. Obviously, the Henry Ruggs situation, still with Rich Bisaccia there, the interim head coach. There's a lot to overcome in Las Vegas right now. They are, in fact, 4-point favorites. No, now 3-point favorites over the Giants. I believe this line did open at 4, though. There's a lot of value, according to PFF Greenline, on the Las Vegas Raiders. 88% of the cash bet on this game has been on the Raiders. Now that it is just a 3-point line, I'm leaning into Raiders more and more, and there is a lot of me that thinks that there will be some ramifications in how this football team is even like from a mindset perspective, even positioned after all the trauma that they've gone through and trauma that's surrounding this team right now. I still feel that they are more than 3 points better than the New York Giants, and even though this isn't East Rutherford, they are making the cross country trip. I do think that the Las Vegas Raiders cover the 3.
I do as well, and the reason being Nate Solder and Matt Peart. They just made Frank Clark look like the old Frank Clark. Frank Clark, 5 pressures this past weekend. The best game he's had since 2018, I believe. That's why. And you got to block Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
That's going to be a disaster.
I think you have to hope, too, that the Raiders coming off a bye are a bit healthier. Josh Jacobs questionable and Darren Waller questionable. You want to see those guys play in this game. But you also, with the New York Giants, Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney are questionable entering this one. Sterling Shepard doubtful with a quad injury. Their receiving core couldn't take as many hits as they did, and they are. And then you factor in, too, that Daniel Jones, while he hasn't played awful, isn't playing near the level that Derek Carr is. I think 3 points is enough to back the Raiders this week. Chargers-Eagles. We're on to the 4 o'clock slate. The 1 o'clock slate on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. Chargers on the road against Philly. This is a surprising line. Only 1.5-point favorites over the Eagles. Yeah. When you compare that to Vegas versus the Giants, 3-point favorites. Chargers going against Philly, only 1.5-point favorites. Why do you think the market here kind of fading Herbert a little bit, fading the maybe not Herbert specifically, but the Chargers a little bit?
I mean, they are only 4-3. They did not look great offensively, but that was absolutely going up against Bill Belichick this past week. I say Bill Belichick, Patriots defense. Eagles defense is not the Patriots defense, though, especially on the back end. I like the Chargers in this one, 1.5. I think they're the vastly better team. I think defensively they have the personnel to chase down Jalen Hurts, like the scrambles and stuff he can do outside of the pocket. I don't think I'm too worried about that in this game. And that's kind of been like their offense a lot of the time. So, yeah, the run defense is pretty rough at times. Chargers, I would expect Philly to attack them on the ground, but I still believe in Herbert far more than I do with Hurts at this point.
Man, I do think that the Chargers, we were talking to Seth Galina a little bit. I don't know if this was on the show or off air. We had a lot of conversations with Seth while he's here in Cincy, talking about Joe Lombardi and what he's doing to this Chargers offense. I talked to Eric Eager. He said he has the least unique offense.
Can't modify unique.
He has, I don't know what he has. It's not diverse. It's not versatile. He has like the least versatile offense of any offense in the NFL, according to his metrics. And then Seth Galina, most quick game concepts run so far this year of any offense. He said, quote, in a tweet, ruining Justin Herbert. Your thoughts on Joe Lombardi this year?
I mean, I don't think he's ruining Justin Herbert, but they do have more personnel to attack down the field than they do. They do run a lot of quicker concepts, which they got big dudes. They got intermediate possession type of receivers, and they don't have yak kind of dudes. And I feel like they treat them as yak dudes a little too often.
I'm backing the Chargers, though. I mean, 1.5 point favorites. I'm just going to – this is my hold. I know it's not a big line, but I think I'm going to hold my nose and take this one.
That's not a hold your nose and take it. Come on.
Would you bet? I would bet Chargers too. Maybe even -130 on the money line. I don't know. Like I like them at -1.5.
Yeah, I like Chargers at -1.5. That's all
right.
That's what I said.
Fine. Good for you.
Next one's the hold your nose and take it.
Packers Chiefs. You're gonna hold your nose and take this one.
Yeah.
I think this is classic overcorrection stuff though.
No.
The line got moved.
There's no such thing as overcorrecting for Jordan Love.
All right. Chiefs were originally favored by 1, and the total was 55.5. Kansas City is now favored by 7.5, and the total has dropped to 48.5. I think 48.5. I think Green Bay still moves the football. Against this Chiefs defense sucks.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Jordan Love, Blake Bortles, or Shailene Woodley. Like it's back there. I do think that this is going to be a fine offense. It's going to be fine. Devontae Adams is also expected to be back, I think. If Devontae Adams doesn't play, I am holding my nose 100%. But if Adams is playing, I like them even on the road against Kansas City to cover +7.5.
So Jordan Love, this preseason, 55.5 overall grade in the preseason on 39 dropbacks. Did not look good. And the other kind of untold thing here that I would start hammering the Chiefs now, the starting quarterback is out, Aaron Rodgers. The third string quarterback, Kurt Benkert, is out. You don't think those guys have been around Jordan Love, and there's a chance that between now and game day, Love is also out, or Love is close contact, or whatever. Like it's reported that Love tests positive. I think that is something that I would be willing to take this line right now, banking on a Denver Broncos last year situation.
Kendall Hinton situation.
Kendall Hinton, where you got Randall Cobb lining up at QB. That is why I would back the Chiefs in this one.
Man, I mean that's not bad. That's not a bad take. I want to. If you know Devontae Adams and Jordan Love's playing, I do think I take the +7.5. If it stays that line and they are active or whatever. 68% of the cash this week is on Green Bay. Obviously, a lot of that probably happened before Aaron Rodgers got COVID. But I don't know. I think I still side with Green Bay if this number stays at 7.5. Now, if you find out Love is out and Devontae Adams is out, this is going to be a hold your nose and take it situation. And an opportunity for the Chiefs to go positive on the season at 5-4.
Mask your face and take it.
Wow. Take off your Aaron Rodgers shirt, by the way. What a disrespectful wearing today.
Oh, they're covering up with the helmet.
Is that a mask on his face, or is that like 5 o'clock
beard.
shadow?
It should.
It's hard to say. All right, moving to Cardinals 49ers. Cardinals 7-1 on the season. Going to San Francisco. It's not a cross-country trip. Just up to Santa Clara. Are 1.5 point favorites over the San Francisco 49ers.
Thank you for clarifying that it wasn't a cross-country trip. I thought it was until you had said that.
I say cross-country trip every time. I just want to make sure people know. But there's a big edge on Arizona at 1.5. I like Arizona a lot at only 1.5-point favorites over the San Francisco 49ers.
So, Kyler Murray, a little banged up. It's the only thing here. He had the finger, that's what I meant to say, that he had the bandage on or whatever that maybe affected his accuracy a little bit against the Packers. He's got an ankle now that he suffered on that last tackle from Darnell Savage prior to the interception. It's still not going to get me not to bet the Cardinals in this one. I think the 49ers aren't a hapless football team. They're probably a touch better than 3-4. They seem like a 500 to like a 9-7 in the old whatever. So I guess that's 9-8 nowadays sort of football team. But the Cardinals are legitimately good offensively. Legitimately too many weapons for the 49ers to shut down. I really like the Cardinals in this one. Only one, basically a toss-up. Yeah.
No Deebo Samuel, no Elijah Mitchell in practice. George Kittle still on the injured reserve. Those injuries, I think, are a huge impact for the San Francisco 49ers.
Are they going to have to throw to Brandon Ayuk?
They might. They might have to. They might have to throw to Brandon Ayuk. But
They'll sign a guy off the street before he throws to Brandon Ayuk.
If Kyler Murray can't play, this line obviously will be affected. And I think he will play. But if he can't play, you know who I believe in? Chris Streveler. Streveler to come in. Or no, it's not. Streveler's third string. Well, I hope Streveler still finds a way. But Colt McCoy, maybe. Maybe Colt McCoy gets in there too. Nah, I think I like the Arizona Cardinals, especially if Kyler Murray does play. Kyler Murray officially listed as questionable with an ankle injury. Next on our list, I think we're on a Sunday night. Titans, Rams. No Derrick Henry. This is something we haven't discussed on this show. Derrick Henry, before the injury was announced, the Tennessee Titans were 6.5-point dogs to the Rams. Mm-hmm. Now, with the injury announced, they're 7.5-point dogs.
1 point move.
1 point move, but it does cover a key number. When crossing a key number, you do cover, cross a higher percentage of win probability and stuff. Yeah, for one running back, I don't think you're going to see a bigger move ever.
Yeah,
you'll never see a bigger move than that.
Nowadays,
yeah. But Titans, Rams favored by 7.5 against the Derrick Henry list Tennessee Titans, and I'm leaning Tennessee.
Again, like that's kind of been Tennessee's MO all year. They've had a number of lines like this where I'm just like, Tennessee's still a good team. Yeah,
very good. They're 6-2.
They still have a sick wide receiver or a 1-2 punch at wide receiver with a quarterback that can hit them down the football field. Mm-hmm. And it's like that can keep you. That'll keep you in a lot of games.
Yeah.
In the NFL nowadays. So even without Derrick Henry, I do worry about Aaron Donald against this interior offensive line. Nate Davis is an absolute dog and pony show in pass protection.
Is that good or bad?
And they've had. That's not. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I was meant to be bad. They've been banged up at a number of positions along their offensive line, just guys dealing with injuries. So I don't think that will end well. Still, 7.5 is a lot for a good team. So give me Tennessee.
I like Tennessee too. 6.5-point dogs against Seattle.
Man, 4% of the cash on Tennessee right now.
Only 4?
Yeah,
that's insane.
We're riding with
the
nobody.
The proud right now. But 6.5-point dogs against Seattle in week 2. Not only do they cover, they win. They were 6-point dogs against Buffalo at home. Not only do they cover, they win. 4-point dogs against Kansas City, they win. 3-point dogs against Indy, they win. 7.5-point dogs. I like Tennessee as a big dog without the big dog. Big dog without the big dog?
Yeah.
I like that. I kind of really like that. I guess big dog is Mercedes Lewis, but I like calling Derrick Henry the big dog too. Cool. I like Tennessee. Last one here, Bears, Steelers. Steelers favored by 6 at home. Roethlisberger getting 6.5. 6.5. 6.5 in some spots. The green line is liking Justin Fields and the Bears. Where is Matt Renner liking?
I'm going Steelers.
No, really?
We've said it, or I've said it. Fields against the blitz. His Achilles heel, his kryptonite, that has too often this year not recognized, not gotten the ball out of his hands, taking bad sacks, taking bad fumbles. What do the Steelers do?
Blitz.
They blitz. They get one-on-ones for their dudes up front. And in this game, I have no faith in the Bears blocking up those dudes on one-on-one situations. So I'd be hard-pressed to see the Bears scoring more than 15 points in this game. And now I'm not saying the Steelers are going to score too many more than 15 points, but when that's ever the case, 6 points at home, I will take Pittsburgh. I kind of like this game. I kind of like this game a lot, actually, in terms of just watchability. I think
really? It's a 6.5-point line with a 40 total.
Yeah. And I think that's fun because it's like you got a Rick quarterback that obviously invested in that. And then the Steelers, low key, could move to 5-3 like really in the hunt, not just in the AFC North. Like 5-2 is tops the AFC right now. So
there's an argument that this Steelers team is better than last year's.
No.
No, I like the Bears actually in this one. Only at 40 total.
Okay.
6.5 point line.
Yeah.
I think this one's probably going to get bet towards the Bears too as you get closer to the end of the week. I think the Bears cover this one. Even though I
would put the unders and toss them on the under then too if you like the Bears.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's the game picks, man. That is the game picks. Before we get on to the mailbag and the trivia, Western and Southern is a proud sponsor of this show. Whether it's football success or financial savvy, the right questions help set the stage for winning strategies. Western and Southern is teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help you, I always say that, help put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Want to hear more about Chris's old playing days or behind the scenes with Al on Sunday Night Football? How about a need to know for your financial future? Now you can ask about either or both, and every football or financial question you ask earns you a chance to win a catered party for February's big game. Check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast and Western Southern's Instagram for answers to the best questions each week. Submit your questions at westernsouthern.com/askchris. One more time, that is westernsouthern.com/askchris. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the link in the description below. Remember, with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Smoothing through is not a thing. Speeding through the mailbag, we are on to who's first. Remember, I skipped the prospect primer.
Oh yeah, quick little prospect primer. Let's do it. Go
right.
fast. All right, you got the game. You got the QB1, QB2 game. Malik Willis versus Matt Corral, the one we've all been waiting for. That's going this weekend. Liberty, Ole Miss, great game there. You have here's one that you might not have been on your radar. Tulsa against Cincinnati. Majay Sanders, edge rusher. We've talked about him a lot, but Tyler Smith, the tackle from Tulsa, may not declare this year. I believe he's a junior, but he is a name to watch down the line. Has the athletic ability. Could be a day 2 pick. In time, you got Arkansas, Mississippi State, Treylon Burks, our guy, wide receiver, 4 on the PFF draft board. Going against Martin Emerson, one of, I believe, top 6 corner on the PFF draft board, the Mississippi State corner. That's a good one-on-one matchup. And then Kayvon Thibodeau, Oregon edge, Jackson Kirkland, Washington tackle. I think Kayvon gives him the sauce.
Nice. Malik versus Corral is going to be sick. Majay Sanders also is going to be playing game day. Game day is here. Game day is coming to Cincy.
Yes.
I reached out to everyone. They haven't gotten back to me, but I was trying to hang out.
They said new number, who dis?
Yeah, definitely who dis. Who dis? No one knows. All right, on to the mailbag. This is from Brandon Gunn on Twitter. Remember, if you want to get on the mailbag, definitely shoot us a DM on PFF_tailgate. Follow that Twitter account and shoot a DM there, or leave a review in Apple Podcasts. This is from Brandon Gunn on Twitter. What do you guys think about Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina quarterback, and where he stands in the 2023 quarterback class?
Yeah, so he actually is draft eligible this year. He could come out. I would be floored if he did. And I like putting it as 2023. I think that is when you see him because he needs a lot of physical development. Guy's skinny. I think he was listed at 185 last year. Listed at 210 this year. But that is a gallon of water aided 210. He does not look 210 on the football field. Arm is very meh strength-wise. He does not. I think it's even like below Mac Jones was coming out in terms of just like the zip he puts on the football. And that offense could not be less like an NFL offense in my opinion. Like it is about as college-y and about as just simplistic. And simplistic's not the right word, but just like it's not going to be like what he's doing in the NFL. So he's got a lot to prove in that regard. He will definitely be a bowl game invite wherever and whenever he is coming out, which I believe, like I said, 2023. But man, he needs to just physically develop a lot, in my opinion. Because even like as a runner is one of like his strengths. He would get murdered in the NFL as a runner right now, just at his size.
I also think coming back, trying to win the Sun Belt again, I mean, go live it up, dude. Grayson McCall is not like in the conversation right now to be a first-round quarterback prospect. Go back to school. Go live that dream with Chadwell and such at Coastal Carolina.
Coastal's it's right next to Myrtle Beach, right? Or like
I think so. No, it is. It is right next to Myrtle Beach.
Which is
you think it's on the coast?
Which is not a bad place to be.
It is on the coast.
Yeah.
It is on the coast. The chime-ins from Quinn are just sensational. All right, Dalton on Twitter. Hey, I saw Austin's tweet. Thanks for that. About Surtain and how super duper he is already. I don't know what that. I didn't tweet super duper. How is
You say super duper all the time.
I do not say super duper all the time.
That's your intro to girls at bars. You say, they're like,
Come
how
on.
are you doing? They say, I'm doing super duper is what you say.
I say, how are you doing? I hope it's super duper. That's how I open up. Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing super duper. Super duper he is already, especially for a rookie, and was wondering how this season so far compares with rookie seasons of the last class of high pedigree rookie corners.
Yeah, how is a question for you?
Oh, I don't know if there is a Surtain in this class. Derek Stingley is awesome, and maybe you could put Derek Stingley above Surtain, but in terms of it's going to come in and hit the ground running, Surtain is a unicorn for me. I mean, some people in that tweet, I remember sending it was a while ago. Someone said, "What do you make of Trayvon Diggs?" Trayvon Diggs is in year 2 and still giving up a ton of yards every single week. I don't think there is a Surtain in this class. I think he's that good.
Yeah, cornerback is notoriously difficult to hit the ground running. He's not as good as, let's say, Marshawn Lattimore was coming out year 1. Lattimore was about as good as we've seen the PFF era from year 1, how well he played. But I think he's close to what we saw from Jalen Ramsey, which was a little inconsistent. But you see the dominant reps where it's like, damn, he just ran that go route for the guy. Like he has those on tape. And so you see the ability to make that year 2 leap into the stratosphere. But I do think some other guys have had better, maybe pure year 1s coming out.
Cool. This is from Vishnu Sernivas. If you had to make an all-time bust team, not including your mom, for offense and defense, who would be on it?
All right. Went through all these. And I did it because it's okay. It's not an all-time bust team. It's from when I started really following the draft. So it was kind of this century.
And this is can I clarify?
Because I didn't know the hype surrounding
bust.
Tony Mandrich coming out. The what was the Sports Illustrated cover said the incredible bulk or whatever. Number 3 overall pick. Went ahead of Barry Sanders, I believe. I didn't know the hype around. I was 3 years old, I think, when that happened. 2 years old. So I don't have anything to compare it to. So
before you get into it,
yeah.
All right, did you make this team based on if I had to win a Super Bowl with just busts, or did you these are the biggest busts?
These were the biggest busts.
Okay, cool.
Had to win a Super Bowl.
I don't know, because an all-time bust team are you trying to I'm trying to figure it out.
Trying to do the best ones?
The best of the bust?
Who ended up? No, this was the worst of the worst.
The worst of the
quarterback busts. Is obviously Jamarcus Russell.
The bustiest.
Number 1 overall pick. Yeah, the Lisa hands. Jamarcus Russell, number 1 pick, 2007. Awful.
I almost bought a jersey.
Hard to get much worse than that. Trenton Richardson. Now, this one's tough because the Browns still netted a first rounder from him, so they didn't bust too hard.
He busted.
But the Colts busted out their minds, trading for first round pick for the worst running back in the NFL when he was there. So that one was bad. Wide receivers. This one was tough. Had some good ones. The one that was a surefire stone cold lock though, Charles Rodgers, number 2 overall pick back in I believe 2003. Did I get that right? Yes, 2003. Over Andre Johnson, who was the number 3 overall pick. You go from one of the worst to Hall of Famer. Yo.
Yeah.
Bad.
The receiver to receiver is obviously bad. Charles Rodgers to Andre Johnson, but also the number 2 overall pick in 2007 was Megatron. That's another thing too with Jamarcus Russell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was and Lane Kiffin. There's that story where Lane Kiffin wanted Calvin Johnson, but Al Davis wanted Jamarcus. That I find hilarious.
For the other wide receiver position, it's a Bengal. Now, is it John Ross or Peter Warrick? Hard to say. I would probably go John Ross.
I can hear Quinn wanting to chime in.
Quinn?
Peter Warrick had a handful of good games, but I guess John Ross did too. But John Ross is kind of balling right now. He had that really nice catch the other night.
Through a DPI.
I think for their respective team, John Ross did less for the Bengals than Peter Warrick.
Also, Peter Warrick never got approached about trying to switch to DB.
What about AJ Jenkins?
As a rookie season. Who?
Jenkins? Was he a second rounder?
He was a 32nd or 31st overall pick. So it's I lean towards the higher picks, but he was obviously diddly
and I don't think you could call Darius Hayward-Bay a bust. Darius Hayward-Bay played in the league for 12 years.
Yeah, I didn't include him.
I'm just saying. I was trying to think of other busts.
Okay. Well, he's not on it. So tight end, Eric Ebron, number 10 overall pick. And now he hasn't been completely washed out of the league awful, but he did diddly poo for the Detroit Lions. Keep going back to that. But yeah, he did nothing. So tackle positions.
Do you say diddly poo at the bars?
Sometimes. Left tackle, Jason Smith. and Greg Robinson, the Rams specials, number 2 overall picks, I believe in 2009.
I forgot about Jason Smith.
14 respectively. Both were just trash. Luke Jokel can be in that mix, but I lean towards the other two because Luke Jokel was in a draft in 2013 when everyone stunk. Like there was not a lot of great options. Obviously, they went Luke Jokel over Lane Johnson, which in retrospect, awful. But the Greg Robinson draft, there were a number of good players in that draft. So bad on them. Guard positions. Now, he didn't start off as guard, but Robert Gallery, Oakland Raiders legend, number 2 overall pick back in, I believe, was it 2005? Started at tackle, 2004, excuse me. Started at tackle, moves into guard, wasn't good at either.
He stuck around with the Seattle Seahawks.
Stuck around, but for the number 2 overall pick to end up a guard, not be a good one. Tough scene. And then the other guard, Jonathan Cooper, obviously, unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals top 10 pick back in that awful, I believe, 2013 draft. He broke his leg. Didn't really end up playing much. So
it'd be tough to make a team out of the whole 2013 draft. A lot of bad players in that draft class.
It was not great. Center position, you got Cam Irving, 2015 draft, 19th overall pick. Has not worked out. They've played him everywhere. He's been bad pretty much everywhere. Yeah, that was... Browns have a lot on this list. Defensive side of the ball, we're going to defensive tackle. We're going deep on the defensive tackles. I had to look this guy up because I didn't actually recall his name because he did not play much. Jonathan Sullivan, New Orleans Saints pick, number 6 overall in 2003. Started only 4 games after his rookie year. Had 5 career tackles for loss. Only lasted 3 seasons for the 6th overall pick. At defensive tackle, a pick that realistically shouldn't be too difficult to scout. It's like, are you big and fucking athletic?
Yeah.
It's like one of those where it's hard to bust too hard. And he did. He did. The other one, I would probably say Tyson Jackson. This was one that no one in their right minds agreed with at the time when he went number 3 overall to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2009. He was a guy I remember the day before the draft. He was 32nd on Mel Kiper's board. And then someone obviously caught wind of the Chiefs wanting him because he's like, I heard he could go top 5 though. Goes number 3 to the Chiefs and just, a run of the mill, a Derek Noddy clone for the Kansas City Chiefs. Just fine, last in the league for a while, but not worth number 3 overall pick. At edge, Deion Jordan, Vernon Golston, some all-time busts there. Deion Jordan, number 3 overall pick in 2013. Again, that vaunted 2013 NFL draft. Vernon Golston, number 6 overall pick way back in 2008. Linebackers, Aaron Curry, an all-time buster. That dude only lasted a few years for the Seahawks. I believe came out in 2009. And then Ernie Sims, 9th overall pick for Lions in 2006. Set PFF records for how low he graded in his career. Was unbelievable that he hung on for as long as he did. For a full season with Detroit, 991 snaps, he earned a 30.5 overall grade for a full season. I believe that's still the lowest for a guy who was not a part-time player. Cornerback, Justin Gilbert, no explanation really needed there. He was a disaster. 2014, 8th overall pick. And then D. Milliner, I think those were back-to-back years. D. Milliner again, 2013. He was the number 9 overall pick. Safety position, Mark Barron, Calvin Pryor, rounding out like that. Hard to find some busts because there aren't a lot of top-drafted safeties, but another Jet there in the 2014 draft.
I think
Calvin Pryor went 18th overall.
That 2013 draft, it was D. Milner, DJ Hayden, Desmond Trufant, and
2014?
2013, I thought. 2013 was D. Milner.
Oh, yeah, DJ Hayden,
Desmond Trufant, and then one other guy who played with the Falcons for a long time.
That was Desmond Trufant, played for the Falcons.
Okay, then who's the other guy? I don't even know. But there were other cornerbacks that were better than D. Milner and DJ Hayden, combined, that went in the second round that were obviously better. Anyway, moving off that 2013 NFL draft, it's trivia season. And after trivia, I got interviews with Trent McDuffie talking about corners. This guy was phenomenal on the mic. He was really sick. Reminded me a lot of Byron Murphy when I interviewed him at Washington. Talked a ton about Jimmy Lake. And then also UTSA coach, dare I say legend, Jeff Traylor. Mike, you need to listen to the Traylor interview. This guy is building something insane at UTSA. He has this triangle of culture pillars. He said something, I got to go back and listen to it, but The pinky stands for promise, the promise you made for this team. I forget what the ring finger was. The middle finger stands for physicality. Index finger stands for selfless because you point at the teammate, and then the thumb is back at me. Accountability. It was insane.
Is he more Gary Vee or Tony Robbins on the self-help scale?
You know who vibe I got from him was honestly the Fleck vibe. PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck, who just got a 7-year contract himself.
Yeah.
He is. I think that he's building something special there. But Trent McDuffie, Jeff Traylor, these are phenomenal interviews. Definitely listen to those. But let's get to trivia first. Quinn, do you have the questions?
I do have the questions. And so Mike was talking about how, with his all-bus team, try to keep it modern. We had some listeners submitted questions this episode, way too hard. Let's try to keep these answers reasonable. Let's try to keep it
how smart do you think we are here?
Yeah, if the answer to the question is a guy that played in World War II, because everybody else was overseas, that's probably not a good. So let's keep these reasonable is the only ask. But that being said, old time players. Number one here, after winning MVP in 2019, Lamar Jackson became the second Cardinal to take home the award after this Hall of Fame quarterback did it twice.
Cardinal being Louisville Cardinal?
Yeah,
Louisville
obviously.
Cardinal. Yeah.
Louisville quarterback? I don't even know. That sounds like a deep cut.
Paul Hornung.
Negative.
I don't even know who went to Louisville.
Paul Hornung is from Louisville.
That's what I was. There's posters of him all over Louisville. That's why I said I don't even.
Paul Hornung went to Notre Dame, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm an idiot. And he wasn't even a quarterback. I just remember all those pictures of him all over Louisville.
Yeah, Paul's Town or whatever they say.
Hall of Fame quarterback from Louisville. Dude, I'm not an NFL historian. This is not my.
So I bashed about history, but I feel like this
one's gettable.
There's a statue of him outside of the stadium. Maybe it's because I'm
Johnny
a
U.
fan. Yeah, it's Johnny U.
Okay.
Johnny Unitas.
Good get.
All right, you guys ready for number two?
Yeah.
Baltimore Colts legend.
Baltimore Colts legend. Yep. Clemson is unranked for the first time since 2014. However, they still had 2 first-round picks in the 2015 draft. Who were they?
Vic Beasley.
Yep.
Was one. And the other one should have been Grady Jarrett. Wasn't.
Was he a second rounder?
D-line. Shaq Lawson. Nope, that's wrong. It was. Oh man.
Say the question again.
2 first-rounders in 2015 from Clemson. Who were they?
Wasn't Dexter Lawrence, was it?
No, it's two
Nah.
earlier.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
I'm gonna get this.
Defense.
I know. Oh, defense.
Ooh, was it the linebacker?
Oh, I know. Yes,
Stephon Anthony.
Yep, you got it. Nailed it.
There it is.
Way to stay with
To the
it.
Saints at 30,
Yep.
right?
30.
Saints at
32.
31st overall.
31.
Wow, that was a deep cut. I thought he was going to be good. I liked Stephon
I
Anthony.
did too.
Maybe he'll make the next all-bus team. Since 2000, only 2 Power 5 schools haven't had first-round picks. Who are they?
Oh my gosh, that is a freaking deep Syracuse one. I don't know. Throwing out a bad Power 5 team.
Tom McNabb was a first-round pick.
Fair,
wasn't he?
fair.
He was before 2000 though. He was 99.
Oh, yeah.
2 Power 5 schools. I'll go
Vandy.
No, Jay Cutler, bro.
Arizona.
No.
Damn it.
I'm trying to
think of who would
really
who
bad Power 5 teams.
So it's been bad. Duke. Nope. Dale Johnson. Idiot.
That was terrible.
Okay, that was.
Uh,
I want to.
Midwest.
I would like
Midwest,
to
Midwest?
They're in the Midwest. They're both in the Midwest.
Indiana.
Yes.
nice. Well
Indiana.
done. They're both in the Midwest. Indiana. Kentucky. No, Josh Allen.
Oh, come on, Michael.
It's tough.
I'll get it.
It's not. They're not like they're not a bad program. Like specifically this year.
What conference?
I mean, do you really want me to give it away? Big 12.
Oh.
Oklahoma. No. Kansas.
No.
No. Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Wow. Well done.
Here we go.
Yep.
That was a
That's all I got.
debauchery of a question.
like
All right. My question was,
All right.
what company? Remember the last week where we did the video games questions and they were like exactly the same? That was insane.
Yeah, that was.
But this one is, what was my first paid internship?
Ooh, first paid internship. Did you get? Was it high school or was it
College.
College.
A lot of unpaid though. Before.
You were. Was it football coach? Football coaching?
No, I didn't. Well, that wasn't paid.
Oh shit. So that student newspaper doing?
No.
I don't know. What was it?
Fox Sports San Diego.
Fox Sports San Diego.
Let's go. This shirt, vintage. Fox Sports San Diego no longer exists. It converted to Fox Sports West with LA. So I'm wearing like an
Probably
NFT.
Valley West
Yeah.
now.
I'm like wearing like an NFT or something. Is this an NFT? Get to the camera. Is this an NFT?
I mean, I could take that. I could snap that still image and sell it.
Fox Sports San
could sell the
Diego, one of
JPEG.
one NFT.
You have to pay people to look at it. All right, mine was I went to Notre Dame. Loved that I went to Notre Dame, but it wasn't my number one school coming out of high school. Where would I have gone if I would have gotten off the wait list? It's my number one choice of school.
Wisconsin.
No.
Really?
I don't think I can get into Wisconsin. I don't know. What are you trying to say?
Wait list. Where? Northwestern?
No.
I'm sure it was Midwest.
It was not Midwest.
West Coast?
East Coast.
UMass.
That was the big.
MIT?
Yes, I went to I would have gone to MIT. I was going to play baseball at MIT, but I didn't.
You're going to play baseball at MIT.
Yeah.
How have we not talked about this?
I don't know.
That's insane. What position?
I was going to pitch.
Wow. Did you pitch in high school?
Yeah.
And you
I
did,
could
but you
throw,
did
like,
pitch at Notre
mid-80s.
Dame.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. I tried.
So you weren't going to make that team anyway.
Oh, it was.
Waitlisted.
I was. Sadly, never got off. I cried when I didn't get off.
That's incredible.
I was a little bitch back then.
Oh, wow. Still are. All right. Until next time. Not until next time. Let's get to these interviews. We got Jeff Traylor and Trent McDuffie. Let's run it. Now joining the Tailgate Podcast is current UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor. You're becoming a Texas legend, Coach. I think it's been fantastic to see the success you've had at UTSA. And honestly, there was a video that came out today when you announced that you were going to be at UTSA for the next 10 years into 2031. What was your initial reaction to that announcement? Obviously, the players are so excited to have you there at UTSA. I guess describe the feelings that you were going through then and how excited you are to be, obviously ingrained into the future there at UTSA.
Dr. Compost, my athletic director, she kind of got on to me because I didn't have our media team in there to film it. And I was like, well, I'm not sure I want to film it. I'm afraid they might boo that man, right? So I was really excited. They were that happy. And that's why you do what you do. And those kids are the reason I had this opportunity. I've been coaching for 32 years. And, from all my stops, all of our players are the reason you get in these kind of chairs.
I think it's awesome to see the support that you have from both, obviously, the program there at UTSA and also the players. What do you feel has been, some of your marquee changes in the culture there at UTSA that has led to the success that you guys had? Obviously, it's a compilation of a lot of different things, but I think what's been the most impressive is just how much the players have bought into what you're doing there. Now, obviously, a top 20 team in the country, you're seeing the results of it.
I couldn't agree more. Our hashtag 210 triangle of toughness culture, we're very proud of that. We want that to be not just words on a wall, but words on our hearts. We vote for all of our single-digit guys. If they wear a single digit, that means they epitomize our culture pillars the best. If you wear the 2, the 1, and the 0, you got the most votes of the single-digit guys. So those are our leaders. Those are our so-called captains, our leadership council. They hold our team accountable. They're the reason we're successful. So if you see a single-digit guy on our field for the Roadrunners, they're supposed to epitomize, our brand the best.
That's an awesome culture building, I think, tradition, something to start at UTSA. Something I wanted to focus on too is that you have had a lot of success. You said you coached for 30 plus years, a lot of success as a Texas high school coach in the late 80s, early 90s. And then also a lot of it has been offensive minded roles at Texas, special teams tight end, and SMU coaching running backs. But this UTSA defense has been phenomenal. Top 10 in the country in EPA per play allowed, also number 1 in Conference USA. Speak to the success that UTSA has had on that side of the ball, even though obviously you've had your hand in with Frank Harris and the offensive side of the ball as well.
Well, you brought up something that's very important. It's the Texas High School Coaches Association. I have 7 Texas high school football coaches on my staff. We were cut our teeth on how to coach with that association. So those guys have been tremendous friends of mine for years. They're very loyal. They know how we're going to coach their kids. So obviously that helps us with recruiting. To your question about our defense being physical, that's part of our triangle of toughness. We want to have the most physical defense on the football field. Offensively, second part of that triangle, we want to be a physical football team. We run the ball. The third part of that triangle is obviously our special teams. Our best players play out there, and we want those guys to be physical. It just so happens our culture pillar of the week is physical toughness. Last week it was mental toughness. So we go through a culture pillar each week, and we just keep rinsing and repeating. And if you were to talk to our kids, they could literally articulate every one of our culture pillars, what finger we represent that with. Integrity is the pinky promise, passion's the ring finger, mental and physical toughness is our middle finger, index finger we pointed our teammates for selfless, thumb, ourselves, we're going to always give perfect effort, wad them up, pound the fist, trust the process, win the day. So we go through those one a week, and our kids can talk it as well as I can.
That is absolutely phenomenal. I love that physical toughness is the middle finger. I think that's a perfect representation of that. Is that so? Physical toughness. I love that, man. Is that something that you've taken from your high school coaching days, or that you had at Arkansas? Where did that originate?
When you are a high school coach, all the college guys want your players, right? Well, I was in the same high school for 15 years. So all those guys came through our school, and they would let us come watch them and study them. So I've never had an original idea in my entire life. I think I've stolen every idea from someone.
I think I would say the same thing myself. I think, yeah, it's a copycat league out there. It's definitely a copycat league. That's phenomenal. So why physical toughness this week? Is that what was in the rotation, or is that principle on your opponent? Gotcha. Very cool. Awesome. So
it goes. We just go in order. We start with our pinky promise and work our way through every single time, and that's just where we are right now.
Someone who's obviously not just buying into that culture, but also playing at such a high level this year, Frank Harris, UTSA quarterback, an 84.5 PFF grade this year, has been phenomenal in a lot of ways. He's limiting turnovers. That has been something that I've found really special about his tape. I guess speak to Frank and the success that he's had at UTSA, and also the development he's honestly had over the course of the season.
Oh, just phenomenal, his improvement. I mean, it's amazing, but it doesn't surprise me. He's voted in that zero for a reason. I mean, him and Rashad Wisdom are in the zero. They're both San Antonio kids. Frank played at Clemens, and Rashad played at Converse Judson. So we're very proud of that. That's part of our 2-1-0, triangle of toughness. So he's the epitome of our culture. He's selfless. He works his tail off every day. He's just so grateful. He's been injured most of his career. He takes the field. He's the first one on the field, and he prays every day. And when he leaves the field, he prays every day. He is the epitome. Anybody can coach Frank Harris. I'm just lucky to be his coach.
That's phenomenal. I think those, it sounds like the kid, especially, wearing the zero with the honor that's tied to it, sounds like one of those kids where you wish you had 50 of them. You wish you had 50 Frank Harrises on the team. I think that's been just obviously a standout performer for them. And you also have some really talented receivers too. Corian Clark and Zachary Franklin have been kind of really successful so far this season. They're also grading super well as well. This offense, I know I spoke to the defense, but this offense is number 2 in the Conference USA in EPA per play. Both sides of the ball really, moving forward in a really good way. Now, to focus on this next half of the season, what are some of the goals that you have? I know it's win every day, it's win every week, but are there goals that you're speaking to your players right now to close out this year?
And you also didn't mention Josh Cephas. Number 2 is a very good wide receiver as well. So we feel really good about all 3 of those kids. But yeah, we play team football. We don't get into stats whatsoever. I mean, we really play a great job, a mixture of team ball. We went out and scored over 50 points against Western Kentucky, and we'll score in the 20s or the 30s and run the ball. So when you have really good players that buy into your culture, they'll do whatever it takes to win. But to answer your question, what we got to do these last 4 games, today's November the 1st, right? It's a November to remember, and that's huge for us. So that triangle of toughness, it's got to show up right now. We got to be fresh. We got to have some fun. We got to be physical. And all those things are what that is. So that's all we've been talking about. As we've shortened practice, we've gotten back to fundamentals. Full pads all last week during the bye week, full pads last night, where most guys are taking them off. My guys love football, and they're putting them back on. So they're just a great group of coaches. It's those single-digit guys.
Yeah.
They're the ones, they just love football. And I'm just lucky enough to be their coach.
That's phenomenal. I think keeping the pads on, especially when it's toughness, I think keeping the pads on, I think it makes a ton of sense. I think something that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel, rising above maybe what other people, with national expectations, getting to 16th in the country, you even securing the 10-year deal at UTSA. I think sometimes it can be difficult for a program that is obviously surging in such a positive direction to block out some of the noise, to not get too high on your horse and not look at some of the national attention that UTS is getting. How do you approach that as a coach, that challenge of like, hey, this isn't good enough. We have bigger goals than this. Don't settle because of our improvement. Continue to kind of improve every single week.
Yeah, something we talk about a lot. As the expectations rise, the culture's got to match it, right?
Yep.
So we just got to be better at that kind of stuff. Our culture pillars, our single-digit guys have got to hold them more accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And our super seniors that we brought back, they know that was part of the deal. We were picked last year, dead last. We had no kids on the preseason all-conference team, and ended up going to a bowl and almost won the bowl against Louisiana Lafayette, who's a very good team. And this year we had everybody back, so we knew we'd be picked. We were picked, second by some, third by some. So we're picked higher in the conference. And we had a lot of kids. We ended up having 19 kids make all conference last year. We had 0 predicted. So all those kids are returning. So common sense would tell you we're going to have a lot more expectations on us. We're just trying to be better in our culture. We really are. We're trying to be better locker room teammates. We're trying to take care of each other, selfless, just those culture pillars, just live them.
Coach, I don't think it could happen to a better person. Congratulations on the 10-year contract. And I honestly think that UTSA is going to be getting more and more national attention. So you continue to keep that culture, that arc up and meeting that. I think it's going to be phenomenal to watch over the course of your tenure there at UTSA. I really appreciate you jumping on, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate it. God bless. Birds up.
Now joining the Tailgate Podcast is current Washington cornerback Trent McDuffie. Trent, we've been looking to get you on this show for a while now. Big fan of your game. You've consistently been a player that's graded well in PFF system and really have improved every single year of your career at Washington. The fact that we got you on this year, we're excited to see it. Thanks for joining the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Where I'd love to start, I know you're an Orange County kid. I'm from California. Love hyping that up. A big Cali guy. Okay, so you're at St. John Bosco, getting recruited by a handful of Power 5 blue blood programs, and on the West Coast, Stanford in consideration. You end up going to Washington and get playing time right away. How much did that factor into your decision to go up to UW? And I guess walk me through that recruiting process and all was going through your head.
Yeah, I mean, coming to UW, I was never really the type to be like, oh, I want to play early on. It was more just of a learning experience. And I know at UW, there were so many great DBs who came through here. Buda Baker, Byron Murphy, Kevin King, Sidney Jones. And it was kind of just like this, I call it the DB pedigree of the West Coast. And I'm a California guy, so, I want to stay as close to Kelly as I could. So taking a trip up north and kind of just fell in love with Seattle, kind of reminded me a little bit of LA, and then met Coach Lake, which I know a lot of people soon begin to know, who's just an awesome dude, an awesome coach, and just kind of fit me in here. And just, I knew a lot of guys from high school who've been here. So it was kind of just home away from home for me in a sense.
I know this is going to be the Trent McDuffie show, but I got to focus a lot of the conversation on Jimmy. I am a huge fan of what he's done at the University of Washington for the years that he's been there. And you mentioned some of the guys he's coached: Kevin King, Buda Baker, Marcus Peters, Byron Murphy, who's been on this podcast as well, who is another phenomenal cerebral player. What makes him different? I hate to make it such a normal or kind of like vague question, but Lake is different. Lake does bring DBU to, or DB pedigree, whatever you mentioned, to Washington. I guess, what's the secret? What's the secret sauce of Jimmy Lake?
Yeah, I'll say this. It's the details, but on top of that, he's a perfectionist. And he is going to make sure that every detail, every step, every footwork, every technique, how we read the field, our eyes, everything that just makes you become a great DB is what Coach Lake focuses on and harps on consistently on a daily basis. So, just being in the program is kind of all we know, is just the things he teaches us. And it's kind of just over a period of years, it kind of plays out, as you can see, with everybody who has been a DB at UW. It's kind of just the standard here now, and that's a huge part of Coach Lake.
And to add, further detail to that, where do you feel those details show up? Is that in the film room, or is that in a lot of individual drills and practice, or is it everywhere? I guess speak to the different areas in the offseason and in season where Lake is kind of, honing in his craft or working on you guys.
Yeah, I mean, as I always say, if you're not seeing Coach Lake outside of the stadium, he's in his office watching tape. 24. That's all the dude does is watch tape. So, I mean, you want to talk about the greatest teacher you can for a DB, that's the dude. And I mean, off season, in season, no matter what, it is film. It's almost like that's our TV for us. It's just watching film. And then we go to practice, and just every day we call it our EDDs, the same drills that all play out into the during the game. Is kind of just the biggest thing that he does is just putting us through kind of a system of just working through things that are going to actually show up during games, real life situations that make it so helpful.
Mm-hmm. And how much would you say, I talked to a lot of prospects and players in college that say the biggest thing that's changed for them over their years is their understanding of the game. Would you say that's a big component of you, or where would you say you've developed the most in the 3 years you've been at Washington?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think playing time is just the biggest thing you can as a college football player, just understanding the tempo, understanding how to read certain things, seeing things over and over again throughout reps. It's kind of just the biggest thing that I've gotten out of my college experience. And since I played as a freshman, is just seeing certain routes, certain formations, certain keys that I've seen back in the past that just instantly I know is going to happen just because I've played so long now. And just, again, with Coach Lake in the film room has been the biggest thing to me, because we're not just watching college football. We're watching guys in the NFL. We're watching Stephon Gilmore, Jalen Ramsey, how they do techniques and kind of implementing it into my game, which has helped my game just elevate even more.
And I feel that, that film study, that IQ, what you've done to study the game and your technique as well is such a big reason why you've been able to have the success that you've had at Washington, despite being, a little bit on the smaller side, listed at 5'11", 195. And that in my opinion, talking to guys that maybe have, size limitations or whatever it may be, you often have to find that edge elsewhere. Where would you say, is that the film room for you? Is that the weight room for you? Where are you finding that edge that kind of helps you set apart?
Honestly, I think it's just my warrior mentality. I do not take it down off no matter what it is. The play can be away from me. I cannot get the ball thrown in my way the whole game, but I'm always going to make something shake. And no matter what it is, I'm going to make sure that I show up on tape, because I'm that guy who is going to do 110% to help my team win at all costs. And I think that is something that it's just my edge, being that undersized player who kind of has to go through different things and measurables and things like that. It's more of just a confidence thing. I'm confident at all times throughout the day, and that's just how I want to live my life, because, I am put in a disadvantage in the eyes of other people, but we're on that field. Everybody has pads on, everybody has a helmet on, and we're all the same. So,
and I'd argue that's kind of another, commonality in Lake coach defensive backs, guys that come out with a ton of confidence. You look at Byron Murphy, Budda Baker, guys that have, when they enter the NFL, look at Byron Murphy this year. I'm not sure how much you followed him this year, but he has been insane. And a lot of it is playing with next level confidence. Elijah Molden, another guy that was graded so well in PFF's system and is already off on a tear with the Tennessee Titans. What was your relationship like with Molden, since he's kind of one of the more recent guys?
Yeah, no, Molden is my guy. That was someone who kind of put me on to this game, and honestly just helped me learn how to navigate through this college football experience, especially coming from last year with COVID and things were shaky and not knowing. He was that dude that was just consistently doing what needed to be done, Having a guy like that in the locker room and seeing someone who's just always doing what he has to do no matter what is something that I took as a huge step in what I can do just in my daily life to help me in my game, because you can see it. It all plays out on the field. And, I mean, he's even doing it in the NFL now. So,
yeah, such a cerebral player, too. I think I talked to him in the pre-draft process as well. Another corner at Washington still there, Kyler Gordon, a guy that's also grading well, having a ton of success. Describe your relationship on and off the field with Kyler.
Yeah, that is my dog. I love Kyler to death. That is going to be someone that down the road, I'm always going to have his back. And I think over the years, our relationship grew a lot, because coming in, as a freshman, he was older. It was not really, but now that we're on the field the same, and off the field, we're always talking about what we see on the field and just talking about families. And I got to meet his and just learning about him and his life because he's from Washington. So I never really knew him. And I mean, he's just such a great dude, a freak athlete. I think the most athletic person I've ever met in my life, and just an all around amazing person. I love Kyler Gordon.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let's focus a little bit now on yourself and some of the previous seasons. What I wanted to say, having so much playing time in the Pac-12, who are some of the guys that you've gone against in your career that have given you the best challenge, or guys that you kind of, when you look back on the guys you faced off against, who comes to mind as one of those best competitors or those guys that you really went toe-to-toe with in your career?
Yeah, no doubt. I think two guys that I just name off my head is Chenault from Colorado from my freshman year. Just one of those dudes who's just so dynamic, and just when the ball was in his hands, it was always a threat, which was one of our key points when we played him. And I mean, he was strong, he was aggressive, and he really went up and grabbed the ball. And that was my first welcome to college moment. He caught it over me on a touch, and I was like, okay, I understand now what I have to do in college. And then another guy, which I've learned to know over the years, is Michael Wilson from Stanford, who's just one of those players that just brings energy no matter what it is. My friends always like to say here is that even if there's a runaway, that he is coming to block you every single play, no matter how many plays it is. And that's something that you can really respect, because not a lot of receivers like to block, and not a lot of receivers like to give full out energy. But when he's on the field, you always got to look out for him.
That's fantastic. A couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. I really appreciate the time. I want to ask you about your personal goals as you guys close out the season. Obviously, a monster game against one of the best teams in the country in Oregon at home in Seattle this week, and then you close out the season with 3 more games. What is top of your mind or top of your list in terms of accomplishments you want to have as you close out the year?
Right. I mean, obviously, we're trying to get to that bowl game, the best bowl game we can get to. Definitely still trying to fight out for that Pac-12 North champ so we can go to that Pac-12 championship, because at the end of the day, that is our goal always. And that is something that you kind of see the guys start to believe in as our confidence is starting to grow and their energy start to grow. And I think for me personally, I think it's just finishing out this year with a sense of knowing who I am as a leader. I think this year was a big part of coming out of my shell. I was never that boisterous guy. I was always just the one who kind of led by example, but just taking this role now this year as leader of the defense and now becoming a captain of the team, and just having to step out of my comfort zone and do different things that I'm not used to in my everyday schedule is something that I'm really taking upon myself to just continue throughout the season, no matter how it goes, good or bad, is just making sure that I myself am doing what I told myself I would do in the beginning of the season.
Fantastic stuff, Trent. Really appreciate you setting aside some time to jump on the show, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You heard it here. MIT grad, or what could have been MIT grad, Mike Renner, Austin Gayle. This is the Tailgate episode, the Thursday episode. Appreciate everyone. Definitely appreciate the producers, David Zafaro, Stone Rochelle, Max Chadwick, and Mike Quinn. Until next time, Mike Renner, Austin Gayle. I pointed the wrong way. Tailgate.